Garrett is going to be doing the demos, and Mike's going to be discussing integration points. And I'm just going to sit back and watch.
Thanks, Phil. And thanks for joining everybody. So yeah, we're excited to have all you guys on today. And talk a little bit about how Flashtrack integrates with Sage 300 and how using these two platforms together can really be beneficial to your guys' business. So jumping in here, just a quick agenda. I'm going to give a quick overview of the integration, talk about what fields we push and pull, discuss some of the benefits of that and how the overall process would work. After that, we're going to get into the Flashtrack app and give a little demo. So I'll show you guys how you would integrate your projects and contracts with Flashtrack. Then I'll get over to Garrett, who will do a little bit of a core demo in Flashtrack itself. We'll show how invoices can push back into Sage and then how payments will work through our platform as well. At any point, you guys can feel free to pop some questions into the Q&A function under Zoom, and we'll stop and answer those as they come through. So jumping in first to the integration overview, what we built is a real-time connection between Sage 300 and Flashtrack. Whether you guys use the on-prem solution or the cloud solution, we support both of those. And when using this integration, we can really get it up and running in less than 2 weeks. It's really quick to get it set up and get data flowing back and forth between those two systems. And at a very high level, the data points that we're going to grab from Sage are going to be your jobs, your commitments, your commitment change orders, and your vendors. Those will pull over into Flashtrack. And then as your subcontractors would bill through our platform, we're going to push those invoices and any documents that you generate, such as lead waivers with them, back into Sage 300. And here's just an example of that high level data flow that I showed. So again, your project commitment, change order, and vendor data flowing into Flashtrack, and your invoice and invoice documentation will push back into your AP module. So some benefits of this, your subcontractors and you are going to have real-time data on your projects for your billing solution. Because these systems are so tightly interconnected to our integration, you can feel very confident that all of that data you have in Sage as your accounting system is going to be what your subcontractors are billing against. Again, no duplicate entry. We're reducing any sort of risk of, human error of inputting the wrong contract value into a billing software that's not consistent with your accounting. And because these are so tightly connected, it's just an increased visibility across all your teams. Approvals are done all through Flashtrack with our clean approval process so that once these invoices are approved, they can push back to Sage at a point when all the right people have already checked them, made sure that they are accurate. So from a process perspective, how this would work, getting data over is going to be that you link a project between Sage and Flashtrack. So we have two ways you can do this. You can either have an on-demand version where you choose when a project becomes integrated, or you can have an auto sync so that new projects automatically show up in Flashtrack. At that point, you just do some configuration and invite your sub. So Garrett will get a little bit into that. Things like billing requirements. So ensuring the right documentation is generated whenever an invoice is submitted. Either you or your subcontractor can create the billing schedule of values. And I'll give a quick demo of how we ensure that those detailed schedule of values map to the correct commitment items in Sage so we know that we're allocating those billings to the right cost codes. Your subs will be submitting pay applications through our software, which Garrett will demo. You'd approve that pay application, and then we have a quick and seamless way to push those invoices back into Sage. And again, once you establish that connection, whether you do it on demand or in the auto sync, this is all just going to seamlessly flow over into Flashtrack. You don't need to do anything else to make sure that change orders over the life of a project will be coming over. Any commitments you might build after the fact, those will just populate for you automatically. So I'm going to give a quick demo of how that import process will work. We have an integrations tab here in Flashtrack. And after I show how you pull data in, Garrett will give you guys a really nice view into how the whole process works, the actual billings. We have our Sage 300 tile here. You can just click your Start Import. And you can come in here and you can search by a project number, project name. I'm just going to select 2 projects here that we've set up for our webinar. I'm going to go to Next. You'll see I have 2 projects here, and I intentionally actually select the one I've already imported here, just so we can see some of the logic our system has in place to ensure that we don't have any duplicate data coming through. So I'm going to import this. You'll see that one of these imported successfully, lets you know that it's in there with our project number. And the second one here is just going to let you know we didn't import it because this already has been imported to our system. So we have checks and balances here, just making sure that you can't make any mistakes and actually have this in more than once. I'll jump back to my dashboard here, and you'll see that this is a project that was already previously imported. We have one here where data is going to start moving into it. I'll jump into this project that we've already imported here. When I click into it, we'll take you to our contract dashboard. Garrett will dive into this in much more detail, but basically all the data you're going to see in here is going to pull directly from Sage. So your contract number is going to be based on what you have in Sage. The overall amount of that contract's in here. The retainage you have set in Sage for your contract will be here as well. If you had in-flight projects, we would have all your completed and stored to date. We'd have any change orders, maybe they're already there. Just really, it's going to mimic exactly what you've seen in Sage, just in our interface here. And at this point, either you or your subcontractors would be able to create a schedule of values. But the last thing I want to show here before I turn it over to Garrett for the full demo is how we ensure that the billings that your sub to be submitting will get back into Sage in the correct area. So I'm just going to quickly create 2 line items here for our example. And I'm going to save this. Now we have a full schedule of values. Obviously, you're going to have a more detailed SOV than 2 lines. Just for our demo, we'll keep it like this. And we just have a one-time exercise up front where we go into this, we call our accounting line mapping module. What you're going to see here is just the commitment items that you have from Sage. So for this example, what I have in Sage is a commitment. It just has one commitment item, so a lump sum for the full value. So this is going to be a simple situation where we just want the entire schedule of values to be allocated to this. But we have many customers that have a much more detailed breakdown of their cost codes. And we just have this as an exercise so that as your schedule of values is here, we know where it needs to be allocated when we push that data back into Sage. Just confirm it one time and submit that. And any change orders would be automatically mapped in the cost code you have over. But this is something we do just for that detailed schedule of values. One-time exercise up front just to make sure we're all tied together. So I'm going to stop my share here, turn it over to Garrett. He's going to pick up basically where we are with the contract and show how you invite your subs, how you configure the contract for their billings, and then show for that end-to-end process of all going through the billing cycle here. Garrett.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Let me go ahead and pull up my screen while I'm doing that. My name is Garrett. I'm a product manager here. So let me go ahead and share and pull this up. And it should be coming up here. Mike, are you able to see that okay?
Yep, we got you.
Awesome. Perfect. So I'll go ahead and jump right in here. So just kind of picking up where Mike left off. So what has happened up until this point? So you as the general contractor have pulled in a project from Sage. Flashtract has automatically pulled in and assigned the vendor to any commitments that have come over from Sage. And then ultimately you as the general contractor have sent the invitation to your subcontractor to bill through Flashtract. And at that point, they receive an email. And once they create an account, they get to their dashboard where they can see that there is an invitation pending for a new project. So what I'm going to show today is how the subcontractor can go through the process of submitting their invoice. You'll see that Flashtract generates any and all required documents for your subcontractor so that you don't have to worry about, the right things coming into the door, making sure that there aren't any errors on pay apps and lien waivers. We're going to touch on some unconditional lien waiver collection. We'll also go over how Flashtract can help you track lower tiers as well. So a lot to cover today. So we'll go ahead and jump into it. And again, just to clarify, I'm currently logged in as a subcontractor, right? So first thing I'm going to do is click inside of the project. I can see here that I've been assigned to the site work subcontract and that it is pending my acceptance. So I'm going to go ahead and accept my invitation and begin the process of submitting my invoice. Up until this point, you can see here that there is a schedule of values with 5 lines that can either be configured by the general contractor or the subcontractor, but Flashtract is doing all the math and making sure that everything checks out to that original contract value that comes in from Sage. So I'm going to go ahead and begin the process of submitting my pay app. So I can scroll down here to my schedule of values, type in a value for this period, do $1,000 for line 1. We can do a progress percentage, which then ultimately backs into this period. And then lastly, if we need to bill for stored material, we can also do that as well. And then once I'm ready to submit, I can save my SOV. And then at this point, you're seeing that Flashtract is blocking your subcontractor from moving forward because they are out of compliance. So I'm going to go ahead and rectify that as the subcontractor. Here I can see that there is a COI that I need to upload. I'm going to go ahead and go over here to my file browser and drag that certificate of insurance over. And then we'll go ahead and set an expiration date for that COI. And then we will go ahead and save it. And at this point, that certificate of insurance is pending your team's review, and the subcontractor can move forward with bill submission. So I'm going to go ahead and click the review and submit bill button. Here I can see that my general contractor is requiring that I report all lower tier subs and suppliers. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. Say maybe I have a concrete supplier. Go ahead and set the type. We can put a description of work. We can also track a contract value. So we'll do $5,000. And then ultimately we can also add a point of contact as well into this lower tier supplier. Once that has been saved, I have the ability to also enter any estimated payment amounts for this lower tier. So let's say for this pay period, I plan on paying them $500. I can go ahead and add that in. And then lastly, if I have any lower tier waivers, I can go ahead and upload those here as well. See if I can find an example of a lower tier waiver over here. Just go ahead and put this material invoice in here for the time being. But ultimately, this gives your team a great way to keep track of any and all lower tier subs and suppliers on the job, and additionally keep track of those payment amounts on a month-to-month basis. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward. And the next step in the process is signing all of my billing documents that the general contractor has required that I submit for this commitment here. So again, Flashtract is generating all of these documents for your subcontractors. You have full customization over which documents you collect for your subs. If you have custom pay apps and lien waivers, we load those up into our template library, and then we populate all of the data for your subcontractor here. So all that they have to do is click one button and sign. So the first document in the list is a default progress unconditional waiver. And this actually leads us to a feature that we have called the lien waiver vault. And essentially the way that the vault works is we require subcontractors to sign unconditional waivers at the time of submission, with the intent that we're going to hold that unconditional in escrow until payment has been verified by that subcontractor. So here the sub can see that this is an unofficial version, and the official version will be released once payment has been verified. But that makes it a lot easier for you as the general contractor to easily collect these unconditionals at the time of payment instead of having to hunt down all of your subcontractors to get this document. So go ahead and sign this document here with our PIN. Again, this is just a message to your sub saying that we're holding this document in the secure vault until payment's been verified. Here we're generating a standard pay app. So we have our cover sheet here and then our G703 on this page here. And again, it's populating all of these values for your sub. All they have to do is click sign. Here we have a sworn statement. So for anybody that does track lower tiers, this is a pretty important document. We're actually feeding in all of the lower tier information from that previous step, and all your subcontractor has to do is sign. Here we have a lien waiver, and it looks like I may have set this one up incorrectly. So apologies there. Normally we set this up on the final bill, but I'm going to go ahead and just sign this one for the sake of the demo and move on to the partial waiver. So here we have our partial. again, populating everything for the subcontractor. And then lastly, any sort of additional backup, maybe stored material backup, or any additional documents that you need to collect from your subs, you can also set those up as requirements in Flashtract. And the subcontractor will need to upload that stored material backup before being able to move forward with the invoice submission here. Now I'm going to go ahead and submit my pay app. This will take us a couple seconds to go, but as soon as this is submitted, what will happen is you as the general contractor will receive an email that there's a pay app pending your approval. So you can log in and actually review the pay app. And we'll do that here really quickly. So go ahead and log into the general contractor account. Take a look at what that looks like real quick. So as a GC, I can see that there is a pay app pending my approval for this new South Hospital project. Here I can see all of the commitments that have come over from Sage 300 in my list. But of course, for this demo, we just have the site work commitment that we submitted for $1,900. Go ahead and take a look at that. Here we can see that a COI was uploaded. Go ahead and take a look at that. Certificate of insurance looks good to me. Go ahead and mark it as compliant. And then ultimately, now we can review all of our billing documents. So here we can see all of our lien waivers that were generated. We can see our standard pay application. We can see our sworn statement. So everything is right here in one place. And then ultimately, if everything looks good, we can go ahead and approve the pay app. And at that point in time, as soon as all pay apps have been processed at Flash or through Flashtract, you would be ready to then push those over into Sage 300. And I'll be kicking it back over to Mike to take a look at what that export looks like. And then once the export is done, we'll jump back over to me for a couple more minutes to actually discuss what paying through Flashtract looks like, and then how those unconditional lien waivers get unlocked from your subs. So Mike, I'll go ahead and kick it back to you.
Thanks, Derek. Okay, so just a quick demo here of how the export process would work. So picking up a step before where Garrett just left off at, where we have a bill ready to be approved on one of your integrated contracts. So I'm just going to quickly approve this. Let's say we're in the end of our month now, ready to push this over to our accounting system. We jump back to our integrations tab. We click on the Start Export button. What we can do is we can just quickly search for a contract name here. We can export as many invoices as you want. We just have the one here for our demo that we're going to show. You just come through here, we'd select all of your invoices for a month, potentially, if you want to send them all over. You click Next. Just how you get a final view. We really look at this as a control point, just to make sure you're actually ready for the data to flow back to your accounting system. And you click Complete Export. Just to let you know that we exported successfully, and then it's going to go through just a quick process of getting all that data populated in Sage. It's going to have all the attachments Garrett showed during the billing allocated there. And then what we'll do is once Sage successfully processes that, you'll just have some feedback on this same export screen. You can go just look at, for example, what batch was created and where it was posted into Sage, just to have a little bit of insight here on the Flashtract side of where everything ended. So really a simple process. You just come through, you select your invoices, and in just a couple minutes, they would populate in your Sage environment. And Garrett, I will kick it back to you then.
Perfect. Let me pull my screen back up here. Awesome. So just picking up where Mike left off. So at this point, we have approved our pay apps. We have exported everything into Sage 300. And, at this point, we've actually been funded by our owner. So it's time to pay our subcontractors. So what would that look like within Flashtract? So we can go over here into our Payments and Waivers tab. And this allows somebody from your team to say, hey, for this project's New South Hospital, for the July pay period, we've been funded by the owner or the general contractor, and we are ready to pay all invoices for that period that have been approved. So go ahead and mark that period as ready to pay. At this point, what's happening is Flashtract is taking all of those approved invoices and pushing them over into our Invoices tab for them to go through the payments approval process and then ultimately for payment to be issued. And that's essentially how the process works within Flashtract is we try to mimic a pay when paid workflow. So, as soon as invoices make it over here to the Invoices tab, the first step that they need to go through is to get approved for payment. So this might be, a project manager from your team that signs off and says, hey, their performance is good. We don't have any problems. Go ahead and pay them. There could be several people involved in the payments approval process. Maybe there's somebody from the accounting team that just makes sure that they are compliant, and Flashtract is feeding in the compliance data to your payments dashboard as well, just to make sure that, if there is an issue with compliance, you can actually put that payment on a hold and reach out to the subcontractor and let them know that, they need to get that certificate of insurance in before they can get paid. But let's say that all is well. The PM has signed off, the accountant has signed off and marked it as ready to pay. And at this point, the payment issuer can log in and actually do an ACH transfer through Flashtract. So to do that, they would select the CAD site work invoice here. They would click pay. They would click release payment. And then as soon as this pay this vendor button is clicked, at that point, an ACH payment is initiated to your subcontractor. I'm not going to do it here because this is just a test account. But assuming we went ahead and paid this sub via ACH, transitioning back over to the unconditional lien waiver vault, as soon as those funds settle in your subcontractor's bank account, we actually release the unconditional lien waiver from the vault without your team having to do anything. So no more hunting down subcontractors for unconditionals. It's all done, fully automatically. As soon as that ACH transfer settles in the sub's bank account, that document becomes available to you. If there are subs that you have to pay, via check or via some different method, Flashtract also supports a mark as paid workflow, in which case the subcontractor would need to verify that they've received the payment. Once they verify it on their side, we release the document from the vault. But by far the most automated version is the ACH workflow here, is as soon as funds settle, that document gets released from the vault. The last thing that I'll mention here is we do have a comment workflow where you can leave internal comments to your team about, maybe why the invoice is on hold or if there's a performance concern. So really we're taking all of these processes that are happening, outside of the digital sphere today and bringing them all into Flashtract and then ultimately streamlining them. So it's a great way to pay subcontractors quickly and then save steps by automation via the additional lien waiver payments. So that's kind of the core payments workflow. At this point, we're going to go over a few customer testimonials and then we will open it up for Q&A. So let me go ahead and pull up my slide deck here and share my screen. So we had two testimonials that we wanted to share with the group today. The first is from Suntech Concrete, pretty big concrete subcontractor, and they've been using Flashtract to help manage their lower tier subcontractors and suppliers and collect documentation, and then ultimately, pay their lower tiers through Flashtract. So just kind of a great example of a large specialty contractor leveraging Flashtract to make those payments and then ultimately save a lot of time collecting unconditional waivers and then pushing all of that data back to Sage 300. And then next on our list is Creative Structures, general contractor out of Knoxville, Tennessee. And they ultimately had been using Flashtract for years at this point to help automate their pay app and lien waiver process, cut down on calculation errors, and just make sure all the right documents get into the door and ultimately get that information back to Sage 300. So just wanted to share those testimonials with you to show examples of customers who have, implemented Flashtract quickly and seen a really good ROI from the system, especially when it integrates back to Sage 300. So I will go ahead and at this point, open it up to Q&A.
Garrett, we have a question coming in. Can this be used for suppliers?
Yeah, good question. It can be used for suppliers, Liz. I assume that you are a specialty contractor that's looking to leverage this to collect documentation from your lower tiers. Yeah, we actually have quite a few customers that are specialty contractors that do exactly that. Yep. So it's a great system for using it with your suppliers. Looks like
All
we
right,
have
we got-
another one.
You got it.
Yep. Looking for support for waiver processing and tracking, use Sage 300, Procore, and TimberScan. Yeah, that's a pretty common tech stack that we see from a lot of our customers. Flashtrack can definitely help with waiver processing. It's definitely a little bit more robust than a TimberScan because we're generating all of the documents for your subcontractors, allowing them to electronically sign it right through our platform, and then ultimately pushing it back to Sage 300. We do also integrate with Procore, but we tend to suggest that people go directly to the accounting system. So the fact that you use Sage 300 would be a great fit for leveraging Flashtrack to help collect those lien waivers. While we're waiting, this webinar is recorded, so we will be sending it out to everybody, after the fact. If somebody from your team couldn't make it and you feel like this would be interesting for your team, looks like we've got a couple more questions coming in. We'll send the recording out, and I'll just go through these one by one. So Liz is asking, we currently use TimberScan for routing and approvals. Would this be able to replace that software? So we do replace TimberScan for subcontractor billing and pay apps. We do see a lot of our customers continue to use TimberScan for any sort of, vendor invoices. So if there's a dumpster guy on the job site, that might not be routing through Flashtrack. So there is a world where TimberScan and Flashtrack can coexist, and we see that quite a bit with a good bit of our customers. Looks like next question is Mark here. Can Flashtrack be used solely for lien waiver management? Yes. So the document requirements are totally customizable. If you just want to use Flashtrack for lien waivers, that's 100% doable. If your company has a custom waiver, we can load that into our template library and then generate that for your subcontractors. And another question here, up to how many authorizations can you have for approval? Yep. So for invoices, so subcontractor pay apps, you can actually have up to 9 approval levels. I don't know if we've ever seen anybody get that high, but we do have customers that have 5 approval levels within the system. And then additionally, we allow you to have individuals on the same level to where both of them have to approve before it moves on to the next step. So pretty robust and flexible. And then really quickly, just to cover all my bases here on the payment side, you can have as many approvers as you want for the payment approver process as well. So,
Good stuff, guys.
all right. Well, Bill, I'll kick it over to you to close us out.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for your time today. I hope this was, answered a lot of questions. I know it can help a lot of people. We have many clients who are using it today with a lot of success. And, we all know that the lien waiver process and all that can be really, time consuming, and this really, really, really streamlines it. So I appreciate the 2 presenters, Garrett, Mike, Garrett/Ben, and I hope you have a great day, and they'll send a recording out. Thank you.